No matter what skill level you're at with 3D printing, there's always something you wish you'd known before that overnight print turned into a pile of plastic spaghetti. And when I first started 3D printing, my list of things I wish I knew or understood better, it mostly revolved around using 4 knobs to level the bed and also setting the filament temps on every print. Luckily, modern machines automate most of that torture, but there's still a handful of critical settings and techniques that people ask about constantly online. So today I thought I'd break down my list of top things I wish I knew when I started 3D printing. Or at least, the things I wish I knew a whole lot better back then. By the way, these are what has worked for me in my shop, so be sure to test these out in your own setup. And if you enjoy my videos or these tips end up saving you on your next print, well, please hit that like button and subscribe to join the lab. Let's start with some fundamental beginner tips, things that can quickly become catastrophic traps if you're not careful. For instance, almost every maker knows the unspoken golden rule of 3D printing. Watch the first layer. Back in the classic bed slinger days, watching that first layer was non-negotiable, especially when getting the bed leveled seemed to take longer than the actual print job. Well, now that auto bed leveling handles the legwork, more than once I've caught myself hitting a print from another room and immediately forgetting that it was actually printing. And that brings up the question, is it really necessary to watch the entire first layer finish before you walk away? The short answer, yeah. Modern printers are phenomenal at taking care of themselves right up until the exact second they don't.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Next up is cleaning. I know, it's about as exciting as actually doing household chores.
I don't want to live if I have to clean up this mess.
But it's necessary. Always consult your printer manual for specific maintenance schedules, but standard lead screws and motion rails, well, they need to be cleaned and re-greased regularly. Over time, airborne dust and old oxidized grease, it's going to form a gritty paste that causes Z-banding, layer binding, harsh axis chatter, all that, and just unexplained print failures. Now, let's be honest, most of us put off these type of deep cleaning maintenance things until we absolutely have to do it. But there's one cleaning task you really can't skip at all: maintaining a clean build plate. To get the best clean for your plate, well, you're going to need to wash it with dish soap and warm water. Now, make sure it's a dedicated grease-cutting soap like Dawn or something, and that way it's going to actively break down fingerprint oils and residual chemical additives, left behind by those heated filaments. Wiping your plate with isopropyl alcohol, that works great for quick touch-ups between consecutive runs, but it's not going to replace a sink wash. Personally, I usually spray the bed down, then use my fingertips and a clean microfiber cloth to really firmly scrub the surface. Almost like giving it a deep tissue massage.
That's a massage.
Follow up with a light rinse, mist, and then wipe it all dry. I've been able to go longer between deep cleans with this method, and I think my printer likes me a lot more, but, just as a friend. This next topic always sparks a really big debate in comment sections online, but if your first layer refuses to stick no matter what you do, it's time to talk about glue. And yeah, I know with modern PEI surfaces, glue isn't strictly required for daily printing, kind of the way it was on legacy glass plates. But when you've scrubbed your plate, leveled the bed, and exhausted every single troubleshooting trick, glue remains the ultimate emergency safety net. Just be sure to stick to the standard purple washable glue sticks. There's plenty of specialty bed adhesives out there, but simple glue sticks, they get the job done reliably. Now there's one adhesive you might not have heard of, or if you did, you thought it was crazy, but it's been proven time and time again over the years. Aquanet hairspray.
What does that smell?
What smell?
And while print surfaces have evolved, veteran makers still swear by it online for ultra thin, even coverage. And if you test this method, we'll stick strictly to the classic Aquanet. Other hairsprays, seems like they contain synthetic conditioners and fragrance oils, and well, that's actually going to ruin your bed adhesion. Now on the flip side, you might need an adhesive to act as a release agent to protect your build plate. PETG and TPU are infamous for bonding too aggressively to the build plate. I still have a couple of ruined flex plates in my shop with chunks of PETG permanently embedded in them. Just keep in mind that the glue sticks often leave a textured residue on the bottom face of your print, so be prepared to wash or sand that part to get it clean if you can. Oh, one other thing, if you apply glue or hairspray, don't try to clean that with alcohol. You're just going to make a sticky, smeared mess. Warm water and a degreasing dish soap, that's the only way.
This is the way.
Well, if one controversial tip isn't enough, how about another one? Filament drying. The internet consensus says you must dry every spool of filament straight out of the vacuum seal before printing, and there's solid reasoning here. You know, in case you didn't know, extruded raw plastic passes through a liquid water cooling bath before being wound on spools when they're making it all. And we all know trapped moisture inside filament, well, that flashes into steam at the hot end. That's going to cause severe stringing, popping noises, and weak layer adhesion. But the filament's only in that cooling bath for a split second. And most reputable manufacturers, they're going to immediately dry it inside a climate-controlled facility and then seal it into a bag with desiccant. Now, because of all of that, or regardless of all of that, most of us pop open fresh spools and just start printing instantly without issue. Yeah, there's the occasional encounter with a problem roll out of the box, but in my day-to-day printing, that's generally the exception rather than the rule. Your local climate is also going to dictate how aggressively you should handle material storage. Now, you'll see influencers boasting massive open-air pegboards and closets with hundreds of exposed spools, and well, for the rest of us living in humid zones like I do here in Georgia, storing open spools in sealed bags or dry boxes with fresh desiccant, that's non-negotiable. So, dry or don't dry, it's up to you, but if your print starts popping like Rice Krispies or suddenly exhibits horrible stringing, just pop that spool in a dryer before tearing your hot end apart, or something even crazier. Along with all of that, different filaments usually require drastically different cooling strategies when you're printing. Some demand a heavy fan airflow, and others, well, they warp the moment a light breeze touches them, which brings us to drafts. Back when I only had an older open frame bed slinger, well, ambient room air conditioning was my absolute worst enemy. I constantly had to kill the ceiling fan and shut off the AC during long prints, or literally I built a makeshift cardboard box windshield around the machine, at least until I got an enclosure, which was huge and expensive. And I know it sounds minor, but if you're troubleshooting problems on an open 3D printer, it's worth checking out. Opposite of lifting and separating prints, sometimes you're going to have filament that doesn't know when to let go. It might be the main print, but it's usually a brim or supports. Well, and that's when you're going to need a scraper. Unfortunately, cheap scraper tools, the ones shipped with your printer accessory kits, they tend to feature a metal tip scraper, and using them is a massive trap.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Driving a metal blade across any build plate can trigger two major issues. First, even if you can't spot the damage immediately, those metal edges, well, they can strip away your microscopic PEI textures over time. And eventually, you're going to find you end up with dead spots on your bed where the plastic refuses to adhere. Second, one slip with that metal edge is going to turn your scraper into Wolverine's claws and cause a deep trench to be gouged out directly into the build plate. And those scars transfer permanently into the bottom layer of every future print, and it also messes up heat transfer. Razor scrapers carry the exact same surface damaging risk. And while plastic razor scrapers work reasonably well, your best bet is patience. Let the build plate cool down completely, and that'll allow the part, hopefully, to self-release. Of course, if you've printed in PETG without glue and your plate looks like bad artwork, my advice is,
gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
sometimes a project needs things you just can't do. And that's where today's sponsor, PCBWay, comes in. Beyond custom PCBs, PCBWay offers a full suite of rapid prototyping 3D printing services, including high detail FDM, SLA, SLS, MJF, and amazingly, advanced metal 3D printing. PCBWay turns your CAD files into functional in-use parts using real stainless steel, aluminum, titanium, tool steel, and more. They make it really easy to do, whether it's lightweight structural frames or complex internal geometries that traditional CNC machining just can't touch. Head to PCBWay.com or click the link in the description to get an instant quote on your next build. I've definitely been guilty of neglecting my backup supplies inventory, especially while running multiple printer brands simultaneously, but stocking up on a few basic wear and tear components, it's going to save you and me from frustrating delays, because, you know, something's going to happen at the worst time possible.
This is the worst.
I recommend you keep extra nozzles, PTFE tubing, replacement thermistors, and even heater cartridges on hand. You can check your manufacturer's store page. The components that they have listed under consumable accessories, well, those are going to be precisely the parts most prone to wear out or have failure. Quick forum searches are going to also highlight which hardware pieces fail most frequently on your specific model. And you'll see this by seeing what people are mainly complaining about the most. It feels like on almost every print project, I catch myself forgetting at least one of these tips. It's a lot, I know. But you know what they say, anything worth doing is worth doing twice.
That doesn't sound right.
Anyway, I think we can all agree that 3D printing is worth all the effort as we continue to learn, create, and amaze.